What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Benson, and I am joined this week by one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Casey.
How you doing, pal?
Better than last week.
Fair. I mean, Newcastle played a bit better this week, so I'm sure you feel better.
Yeah, only a tiny bit, though. Yeah, we didn't miss last week for any reason in particular. Just people were busy, unfortunately, and we ended up having to miss last week. Which, for me as a Man United fan, went really well.
How did Leeds do last week? I don't want to think about it. I barely want to think about today, and we won.
Yeah, 1-1 against Wolves last week.
Stressful, that one.
We might as well address the elephant in the room and go back to the only result that everyone seems to remember from last weekend. Liverpool 5, Man United 0. And everyone was sure, 100% sure, that Solskjaer was getting sacked.
I knew he wasn't getting sacked. God bless that man. I wanted him to stay in the job for a long time.
Oh, I fucking know you do.
It was. I don't know what I watched that Man United. I've watched a lot of teams where I think I don't know what your game plan is here, but it's the first time I've watched a team of sort of Man United's caliber and just thought, what are you guys trying to do here? Like, what is your goal?
If we don't know, they don't know.
Clearly, it didn't matter if you don't know.
That game was then followed up by reports that Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw had a scrap on the training ground pitch because Luke Shaw kept referring to him as the fridge.
I'm sure Harry Maguire kept calling him a fat bastard.
Well, Mourinho did, and it didn't get under his skin a lot, did it? But as you can see, this week's Stand Your Ground is obviously titled Managers Under Fire because we're only, 2 months into the season, realistically. This week 10th game?
Yeah, this is game week 10.
There's quite a few managers that are already under fire. We've already had the 2 managers leave clubs already this season with Watford sacking their manager and bringing in Claudio Ranieri, and then Steve Bruce leaving after mutual consent and, getting sick and tired of Geordie's calling him a fat cunt that doesn't know football.
I think the example he used is called Onion Head or something like that, wasn't it? Like, it was brilliant. The thing about that was when he left, there is part you just go, yeah, but you can leave this job whenever you like. You don't have to do this. You've got the money, and clearly he's got even more money now. And he's in Dubai at the moment watching the 2020 World Cup with his son Alex. So it can't have been all bad.
2020 World Cup, what?
Not that World Cup, as in cricket.
To be honest, you said that. I'm like, what the fuck? He's travelled to a different universe.
Listen, we watched the 2020 Euros this year. Is it that unreasonable? But yeah, there's a bit of discontent around the Premier League at the moment with certainly a couple of managers. I'm sure we'll get on to.
And you know who's not under fire? Daniel Farke. They just accept it.
They've accepted it already. Geez. One, I wish I could do a Daniel Farke impression, because if you ask me to do an impression of a camp German, that's the voice I go with. Yeah, we're playing this today, and we are sticking with 3 at the back, and we have Max Aarons. He does all the running. Yeah, that's good impression. Thank you. He's probably a little bit more high pitched than I am, but at some point, it's got to the point now we've got through this game. I'm tempted to put 20 quid on Norwich not winning a game all season.
Yeah, I was speaking about this today. We went round for a family Sunday dinner, and I was saying I would, but it's just like Norwich to pull out a random result out of nowhere, like beating City at home.
I was waiting for them to do it like third to last game of the season or something, and beat Man City to secure the title for someone else, and that's the one win they have all season.
Yeah, somehow Brighton are now Premier League champions.
What a world.
Yeah.
The new Leicester.
And speaking about managers that are under fire, obviously we had Solskjaer that was under fire. We've got Nuno at Spurs, which we will get onto in a bit, but it has been confirmed that apparently Daniel Levy is talking to the rest of the board members about Nuno's position as manager of Spurs.
I mean, this is... I don't know what you do at the point where Spurs were in the summer when no one wanted the job. Like, I don't know what you do there. But at no point was I thinking, well, based on the tactics he's going to employ, well, the obvious answer is Nuno Espirito Santo to coach this attack-minded team.
Yeah, whoa, calm down. Nuno left Wolves because, homesick.
He's in the big city now. It's fine. It's got all the bright lights and everything. I think they still have mills running in Wolverhampton.
To be fair, there's probably a ton more Portuguese people than there are in Wolverhampton. Actually, no.
There's the entire Portugal squad in Wolverhampton.
Ronaldo's only, an hour away?
Yeah, Man United still fly there, though, for that one, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Lazy bastards.
So we'll get onto the games, and a manager that was under fire 9 games ago was Mikel Arteta after City absolutely walked over them away from home. But since then, hasn't lost a game. He's won 7 and drawn 2, keeping 5 clean sheets in the process. And another clean sheet was added to that tally this week, beating Leicester 2-0. Goals from Gabriel from a corner, which was a pretty decent header, to be fair, and someone needed to be picking him up.
Yeah, it's for a goal like that, it's a bit unlike Leicester. They've always been pretty well organised, but ultimately, as much as we've joked about them in the last few weeks, Arsenal actually played some really nice football at the moment. They've kind of settled down with this team a little bit. It does also help that Aaron Ramsdale had an absolute worldie.
Yeah, someone who's been relegated twice in a row with 2 different teams from the Premier League, and everyone taking the piss saying, oh yeah, go on Arsenal, sign him and get relegated and make it a hat-trick. He's been in fine form.
Yeah, he's it's one of those things where it seems an odd one, because I don't think, I use him as the example all the time, but I always remember Watford's season in the Premier League when they had Ben Foster in goal, and I thought Ben Foster looked every bit the Premier League goalkeeper at that point. Whereas in these last 2 seasons, I didn't think much of Aaron Ramsdale, but maybe it's just the fact that you've got that better defence in front of you that's giving you extra coverage, so you're just not facing as many shots. But he's looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, and to be honest, if you think about last season, he went down with a very poor Sheffield United side, who the season before had Dean Henderson on loan, and they played really good football for that season. I mean, they almost got themselves into Europe, but it doesn't help then going for the so-called second season syndrome and having a pretty unstable back four in front of you.
No, the other thing with that Sheffield United team was that they were so poor going forward. You didn't have to lose games by that many goals, because I think their top scorer ended up with 4 or something like that. One of the, you've seen teams like West Brom could score more than them. So yeah, I suppose playing in I'll call them competent for now. I don't know if they'll throw a bit of a wobbler in a few weeks' time and we'll be like, yeah, there it is. But But yeah, for now, they're playing nice football. I thought Aubameyang's goal was very nicely taken. He was ecstatic about it because he, again, same as everyone else, really, had a bit of a slow start, but
yeah, his goal last week was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I know what you mean. There's a lot of people in that Arsenal side that you would have said were lacking confidence, and someone who had a lot of pressure thrown onto him at the start of the season, being given the number 10 jersey, was Smith Rowe. And I must admit, and I'll put my hands up to this, I did think that maybe they'd made the wrong decision by putting such a big pressure on a kid that 3 seasons ago was playing championship football for Huddersfield. But he seems to have taken to it really well. He's running that midfield for him and he's creating chance after chance after chance. And playing off that left side looks like it's really working for him.
I mean, if you remember how, because they finished last season really well under Arteta, and I think that was why it was kind of surprising the way they started the season. Was it from about Christmas onwards? I think they only lost 1 or 2 games in the second half of the season. I think they did really well. And it was around Christmas when Smith Rowe came in and kind of established himself in there. I mean, I still look now and I do wonder whether there was a role for someone like Joe Willock in that team this season, especially after the run he'd had at Newcastle at the end of last year. But no, he's been fantastic again, and another one that's quietly racking up points for my fantasy team.
I wish I'd have remembered to do my fantasy team this week.
I forgot, but Mo Salah's in there, and I know it was a quieter one for him, but there's an assist, and I've got him as captain, so.
Yeah, we'll go on to that.
He was fantastic to have in my team as captain last week.
You can fuck off.
I will say this. I know he's not here this week. Obviously, with the Chelsea playing Norwich, Jack, if I remember right, decided to put Kai Havertz in the team and make him captain. And in a 7-0 win, he did not score or get any assists.
Whereas I made the opposite choice and went with Mason Mount and made him captain.
There you go.
So at least I got a hat-trick somewhere from the captain. Yeah. I did have Salah in my side as well.
Oh.
Rolling in it. Yeah, we'll go on to that Liverpool side that absolutely battered Man United last week, made us look terrible. UEFA Conference League style type of team walked over us. We had no idea what we were doing. But you know who does have an idea what he's doing? Graham Potter. Because Liverpool drew 2-2 at home at Anfield against Brighton this week. And after the fast start, I wouldn't have said I saw it being 2-0 because Jordan Henderson scored in the first 4 minutes. Apparently, that's his first goal in over a year for Liverpool, which is nice for him. And then Sadio Mane, after 24 minutes as well, put them 2-0 up. And Liverpool, to be honest, looked like they were cruising after the early scare that they had.
Yeah, they just kind of settled into being Liverpool this season, which is just being fantastic. It's just almost as if they stopped. Like I don't know any other way to describe it. Really, like you say, the Henderson's was a nicely taken finish, and then Sadio Mane, I think his was it was deep cross from Oxlade-Chamberlain that he did really well with a header.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just kind of think, well, the form they're in, this could be 3 or 4, and obviously the week before as well, Brighton had gone down to was it 4-1 they lost to Man City.
Yeah.
And you know what, for the way, like me and Jack were at the pub watching that one, and as you're there going, like, I know City are kind of romping away with this, and it's one of the poorer games Sanchez had, but with how Brighton have been playing so far this season, you thought, well, you might as well have a go. Like you've got the team that's going to go for it. You're in form. You're confident, and you don't lose anything by losing to Man City. You know, and I thought second half they equipped themselves a lot better. And then against Liverpool, they just turned into 1970s Brazil.
Yeah, they signed a player from Salzburg, which seems to be the kind of thing to do now if you're looking for a forward that's going under the radar. Sign them from Salzburg because for some reason they just keep churning out great players.
Before they send them to Leipzig.
Hey, Mane. No, where did Mane? Mane came from Basel, didn't he? So you've got Haaland, Minamino, Hwang Hee-chan came from there. And then
I can't not laugh at his name.
Hwang Hee-chan?
Well, it sounds a bit like wanky.
Sorry. As he's known on Match of the Day, he's just known as Hwang.
Hwang.
Yeah, he scored his first goal in the midweek competition in the Carabao Cup, but that Mwepu scored a cracking goal against Liverpool, just lifting it straight over Alisson. There was pretty much nothing Alisson could do about it unless he'd have been already stood on his line.
No, the dip on it was absolutely perfect. And to be fair, the only thing I'd criticise Alisson for in that situation was I think he probably should have been wearing a cap. Because the sun seemed to be right in his eyes for that. But, he was only 2-3 yards off his line. He was where every other goalkeeper would be. It was just a really well guided shot, just right under the bar.
Yeah, it was. And to be honest, from there, you kind of started to think, because the Liverpool had a goal disallowed. We need to go back to that. Sadio Mane had his second disallowed. I think they disallowed it for handball in the end because I think it popped up and hit him on the arm.
He knew as well. Even when he went off celebrating, he was pulling a few faces to, which I think gave the game away a little bit. But it was a handball.
But going into the second half at 2-1, even though it's Liverpool at home, he didn't feel confident, not with the way that Brighton have been playing. And then to come out in the second half and Trossard to get a goal, which again was a really well taken goal, to get it in the box and have the composure to be able to take it past the defender and then slot it in at the near post against Alisson, who obviously is a great keeper. It really showed you something about this Brighton side. And I think there could be one or two signings away in the January transfer window from really pushing for that Europa League spot.
Yeah, they've kept themselves up there. Did Trossard have a goal disallowed as well, if I remember rightly, or one of them did? But they threatened all through the second half, and they just played with such confidence. And it's just strange to see Liverpool, with the way they've been playing this season, get into that position. Very unlike them. But no, you got to say full credit to Brighton for that performance.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the side now that Brighton put out for that game. Sorry, Solly March had a fantastic game on the wing for them. He caused Liverpool tons of problems, and he's someone that I think also goes under the radar because he puts the effort in. His work rate's absolutely phenomenal, but he doesn't have that big name profile in the Premier League. So he's one of those players that you probably look back at in 10 years' time and you go, Streets will never forget Solly March because he just had that kind of finesse about him. Basuma being back as well in that midfield really helps anchor them, and it lets Lallana just have a bit more room to thread passes through. And it's nice to see him get a run of games where he's not picked up an injury as well, because that was really his downfall at Liverpool.
No, I think they're a quality team that's been very well coached. I've got a lot of time for Graham Potter in the brief time he's been in English football now, because he had one season at Swansea, played nice stuff there, and it was the one thing about Brighton last season. If you'd have gone off XG, they were in the top 5 or 6. Like, if they could have actually taken their chances last season, they were creating plenty of them that just couldn't finish. And it must be very frustrating as a coach to watch that, because it's with the XG, it just indicates that your players are getting in the right positions. Everything else is going well. So yeah, it's quite nice. I'm quite glad for him to see that it's now starting to pay off for them.
Yeah, this Brighton side reminds me of like the late 2000s Everton side, where you kind of look at them and you go on paper and you think they shouldn't be as good as what they actually play. And then when they just come out onto the pitch, you can just see that they're a well-drilled side.
Why is Alan Stubbs competing for a Champions League place? Like, come on, we're not playing games here.
Tony Hibbert at right back has always been my hero. But yeah, coming into this weekend, we had two sides that had not won a Premier League game this season, and we are now down to only one side that's not won a Premier League game this season. Burnley won at home 3-1 against Brentford. And to be honest, with the way that Burnley played in this game, you wouldn't have thought that they hadn't won a game because they played with real confidence.
No, and after the game, Sean Dyche had said, you know, that he'd been saying for weeks that Burnley are playing all right, and they just haven't been able to secure the result. I mean, I think there was an indication of that against Man City when Burnley only lost 2-0, because they normally get smashed there every time at the City of Manchester. But no, they've been plodding away at Burnley, and I think signing Cornet has been outstanding for them. I think it's been a great bit of business, and he just seems to have added so much more creativity to that midfield that otherwise was point to Dwight McNeil, hope he does something. Like, can he get a cross in for Chris Wood? Because and that's the thing. Like, Chris Wood will get you 10 to 15 goals every season if you give him the service. You know, he's a big guy, knows how to use his body, good in the air, decent with the ball at his feet. You know, he's a good goal scorer. But you know, Burnley just lacked that creativity and that spark in midfield, and now gone and got someone else that's going to help provide those chances or score them.
Yeah, because I mean, he scored a hat trick the other week in the Carabao Cup. I think it might have been against Southampton that he scored a hat trick. But then, yeah, like you were saying, Chris Wood obviously in the first 4 minutes popping up, and to be honest, it's not a clinical finish. He really lashed at that. He's put full power behind it to make sure that that's going in.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't like stereotyping strikers because you always get that, oh, he's got a good touch for a big lad. Like, Chris Wood's a good all-round striker. You know, I think his movement's very good, hold-up play fantastic, aerially. Yeah, I think you know, you've got to give him his full due. He is a very good footballer. It's why I don't just want to watch a Burnley team that just whips crosses in for him to win the header. You know, they are a team that can use him and play through him as well. So it'll be interesting to see what, you know, if Burnley can carry this on now, because obviously they're down there at the moment. But yeah, it was a much needed win for them, and you know, I think it was overdue.
Yeah, because they played well against you earlier this season at home. I think Burnley obviously always rely on their home fixtures. They're not a team that I ever picture as being a good away side. I always imagine Burnley to just get their points from home, like Stoke. It used to be a very hard team to go away to, because they just set up as, no, we're not going to concede.
No, they've been very well drilled defensively for a few years now, and that's one of those things that you always know going into play them. And combined with a very combative midfield as well. And it's just going to be one of those things that's interesting to see what sort of how this Burnley team evolves if it gets a bit of investment and if Sean Dyche is left in charge of it. Because again, I see no reason to change having Sean Dyche there at the moment. Now, you know, at some point with further investment, there might come a point when they want to progress the style of football But for now, I don't know why you look to change it.
No, because their style of football has worked, and to be honest, when I think of Burnley, I do just think of they only score headers. Like it's either Ben Mee or Tarkowski that is on the score sheet, or Ashley Barnes or Chris Wood has scored a header. I don't normally.
Fuck Ashley Barnes.
I don't normally picture looking at a Burnley scoreline and seeing their right back and left back both being on the score sheet.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, I can say this from his time at Leeds, Charlie Taylor's an excellent footballer and was very good for us the times we played him on the left wing. Like, he's talented enough, he's got a bit of pace, could put in a decent cross, can finish. It's always like seeing games where he has the ability to actually to bomb on a bit and kind of get the ball in. There's very rarely you see him cutting inside, but it's a bit too fancy and modern, I think that is, for Burnley, is having inside forwards. It's
why Rafinha had all that joy. Oh, God, he's cutting in. God, did you know you could do that?
You're allowed to do it, not cheating.
Oh. Jesus Christ. Why would you play a left footer on the right side of the pitch? Fucking Jesus Christ.
Gaffer, how's this joker going to put a cross in here? Shit, he's put in the top corner.
It's not often in football that we talk. Well, no, actually, that's a lie. It's very often that we talk about bogey teams in football because there's some. It gets thrown around. It gets thrown around that big teams have certain teams that just seem to know how to play well against them. And for Man City, you don't look any further than Crystal Palace because for some reason Crystal Palace know how to go to the Etihad and get a result. And nothing says more than this weekend when they've gone to the Etihad and come away with a 2-0 win.
No, I mean, you sort of have to talk about the game in two parts. I'm still in two minds as to whether it's a red card or not. For me, I thought it was a bit far out to call him the last man. And I do think the other players had time to get back and recover. That being said, I thought Palace equipped themselves really well. And I think the value of Conor Gallagher doubled in that game. He was all over the field. He was an absolute machine.
Yeah, it's a shame that, he's just going to be passed around on loan to different sides constantly.
I mean, to be honest, if he keeps up this season, I don't see what value he would get going back to Chelsea because it's nice to see at Chelsea that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is getting a bit of a chance there now in the team. But I can't see him making that breakthrough there. And I think, honestly, at this rate, if you're Palace, come the end of the season, I think I'd be throwing money at him to keep him there. I'm really, the way it's worked out, I'm disappointed now that Leeds weren't able to get him because we were interested in him. But I think if you'd have looked at how little Bielsa likes to change the team, it could have been hard for him to make the breakthrough. Now, as it goes with our lack of depth at centre mid, I think he'd have walked into this team fairly comfortably. But I'm not bitter about that at all.
He'd have loved playing in your under-23s.
Hey, I went to watch our 23s Friday night. They play fantastic football.
I heard.
Yeah, we had just shot of 9,000 there for the under 23s. Brilliant.
I know there was something ridiculous. I think Fulham or someone like that had taken 2,000 fans to an under 23 game against Hull this week, which makes no sense.
Why? I mean, I understand it for certain games. You get it quite a bit in the FA Youth Cup if you've progressed a couple of rounds. Like we played Liverpool a few years back, and we took there was a few. I think there might have been over 1,000 Leeds fans there that went to that one. But yeah, you see it sometimes. The 23s is a bit more surprising. I think this was just the first one that was at Ellen Road, and they made tickets free for all members and season ticket holders, and it was cheap for everyone else. But I'm glad we're talking about the Man City game.
Yeah. Wilfred Zaha early on in the 6 minutes scrappily put one past Ederson. It really trickled into that far corner. then obviously Laporte gets sent off right before half time. Then into the second half, Jesus gets a goal disallowed for offside. And City players seem to be all up in arms for that. But I thought it was clear he was offside.
Yeah, it's one of those things now. I don't think you can ever really get too annoyed about offside decisions once it's for stuff like that, because it's good. Like, everything's going to get reviewed anyway. But no, I thought it was offside, which is a shame because I thought it was quite a nicely worked goal as well.
Yeah, it was. And to be honest, I as much as I despise Man City, Jesus has always been a player that I've kind of kept my eye on to see how he progresses, because he's been at City now for a few years and you've always been waiting for him to kind of come to the forefront. And it's weird that he's now finally starting to find some form as a striker out on the right wing.
Yeah, I always worry about him because he always has this constant look of concern on his face. Like he's on the verge of being really upset about something. And I suppose he probably was a bit upset once that goal got disallowed.
To be fair, he's only worried because he doesn't want to sit on the bench again.
He's worried that they don't have any strikers and he's still there thinking, I don't know if I'm going to play.
Yeah, that Cole Palmer started scoring goals and he thought, fuck. And then Conor Gallagher's wrapped it up in the 88th minute with a pretty decent finish. And I mean, you couldn't say anything better than seeing all the Palace fans going mental at that second goal.
No, it's a really well worked goal as well. I think the defending was a little bit suspect. I thought they kind of got themselves at odds at Man City and sort of stopped tracking the runners. But you see, as the ball goes up, and even when it's in the penalty area initially, Conor Gallagher's still around the halfway line. And then he just absolutely bursts forward. And I think the original layoff, I don't know if it's from Zaha, goes past him. And you think, well, why haven't you just laid it off for him? But obviously they recover it and just another layoff to Gallagher who puts it in neatly and finishes the game off. But it's such a different team to watch at the moment. So it's very nice watching this Crystal Palace team, who again not quite to the degree that Spurs did, but obviously they had their struggles getting a manager in, and then you're getting Patrick Vieira in, who's not had the best record prior to this, but you got to say so far they've absolutely hit the nail on the head with the recruitment, both in terms of the manager and the players, and they're playing a more attacking style now. A fair play to them. I think they deserve everything they've got.
It's a style that you can see really is getting the best out of players, because people like Christian Benteke that people were writing off because he's not been scoring goals seems to have found his touch again, like back when he were at Villa. He seems to be able to just be in the right place at the right time. And this side's only going to get better when Eze comes back from injury.
Yeah, you've got Elise that started playing the last couple of weeks as well, and he's looking pretty comfortable. And all of a sudden, you've now got this team that I know he had Eze last season, but over the last few years, it's become very dependent on, oh God, I hope Wilfried Zaha provides a piece of magic going forward, because it's not going to come from Ayew or Benteke. And then they lost Andros Townsend as well, which, you know, he's made a decent start to life at Everton. But yeah, they've done a really good job filling that in. Like you say, when Eze comes back, you've got Elise, Benteke's looking more comfortable. You've got Zaha, you've got Gallagher coming up from midfield, and it's now looking like an attacking, fluid football team now.
Yeah, and as weird as it is to say about a Palace side, you would think the only thing that may hinder them is if they get an injury at the back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, since they lost about 7 different central defenders last year, they were all above the age of about 39. I can say this from my football. I did a Crystal Palace save with Football Manager last year. It's very satisfying at the end of the year when just everyone leaves. Makes life a lot easier. Because that's the thing, like, one, they've put some money into it, but they must have freed up so much money from the wage bill. Just from, like, Connor Wickham has been there for such a long time and just not played. It was essentially of no value to that team. And just to get, even if he was only on 30 grand a week, that's money that could have been much better spent elsewhere. It was, again, that was always going to be the interesting thing. Whichever manager they brought in was essentially overseeing a complete rebuild of a club that you very rarely see.
Connor Wickham's going to be one of those people that, like, he's a pub quiz question of how many years did Connor Wickham play in the Premier League, and you have to go, oh well, he were at Palace for about 5, and before that he were at Sunderland for about 4.
Well, because we had him on loan for half a season. He was a decent player for us. Just one of the many passers-by that sort of we saw anywhere between about 2012 and 2016, 17. I always remember as a striker, he had a really good throw-in on him for some reason. Just an odd thing. You don't see many strikers like, no, lads, I've got this.
If he could throw the ball to himself, he'd have been an half-decent striker.
It just needs to loop it up high enough that he can then leg it.
Before we do move on from Man City, though, we do have to speak about Sergio Aguero. Unfortunately, Sergio Aguero came off in the Barcelona game yesterday. He got absolutely pelted in the chest by the ball, and then has unfortunately been diagnosed today with a rhythmic disorder in his heart. They're not sure what this means for his footballing career, but we are wishing all the best for Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, obviously, what a scary thing to see, especially not so long after the Christian Eriksen incident over the summer, who he's been told by Inter Milan they won't allow him to play at all this season. So, and whether that's the thing that gets reviewed at the end of the year or at the end of the season, I don't know. But yeah, it's obviously a scary thing to see. Glad it's been diagnosed quickly enough now, and it'll just be, I hope it's a case that they treat this seriously. And again, like Christian Eriksen, fortunately, Aguero's at a point in his career where I don't want this to be all about money, but he's had the best part of his career now. He was into the last few years. At least he won't. I don't think there'll be any regrets if he has to retire now. He's had about as good a career as you can have these days.
No, it's true. And to be honest, like as scary as it was watching the Euros and watching what happened to Christian Eriksen, it was one of those things that if it is the end of his footballing career, then he's at least set for life anyway, whether or not it does end his career. But it's a scary thing to think about, because if you're playing Sunday League and someone got hit in the chest with the ball, they go, oh, he's winded. Let's get him on sideline. We'll sit him down for a bit, see how he feels. And a Sunday League player is probably going to turn around and be like, no, I feel all right now.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I think, and this is sports in general, you and me are both wrestling fans, and we've seen plenty of people who've carried on through injuries and this daft behaviour that, I've got to be manly and strong about this. So, like, no, if you hurt, you hurt. Like, there is no sense in prolonging an injury or anything else, or trying to play through something if you don't feel right. And that's, that's the attitude I want to see more players take with concussions, in taking stuff like that more seriously, and kind of relenting to whatever doctors tell you to do. Unfortunately, this didn't turn into anything more serious. So, hopefully these are things that players will learn from now and start to take their health a little bit more seriously and stop valuing it against winning 3 points.
Yeah. So back to the 3:00 games on the Saturday. We'll probably reel these two off pretty quick, because there's a big talking point after this. Chelsea 3, Newcastle 0, and Newcastle did pretty well in that first half to keep Chelsea out. Ziyech looked like he was causing them all sorts of problems, hit the post, or the crossbar twice. But just eventually came undone. 2 goals by Reece James and then a penalty that was scored by Jorginho. And after that first goal went in for Reece James, you just kind of felt like, oh, here we go. It's going to be the same old Newcastle.
Fair play to Chelsea's fullbacks at the moment, because I know the wing backs, but Jesus, they're racking up the goals between them this season. Yeah, Ben Chilwell's been on a nice little goal scoring run. Reece James has scored in the last couple of weeks. Got himself a brace at what is now being christened St. Reece James's Park. First one as well, really nicely taken. That was left foot as well, wasn't he? Got it on the other side.
Well, both of them, he absolutely leathered them. And I know the second one.
Jesus, he puts his foot through it.
It's a scrappy goal, but to be honest, he knows all he has to do is hit it on target with any amount of power and hope for the best because the keeper's out of position. But Jesus Christ, if that had missed, that would have knocked a fan out.
No, he's absolutely caught them, and he's another one at the moment that's just playing with so much confidence. He's doing so well having this run in the team, and it's very nice as an Englishman seeing 2 English fullbacks getting plenty of game time, and given the amount of fullbacks or right backs especially that we already have. Just can't wait for Ben Chilwell to be overlooked again for Kieran Trippier at left back.
Yeah, it's been one of those memes. It's weird looking at him compared to Shaw for this season anyway, and thinking Ben Chilwell got no game time in the Euros whatsoever.
No, and which obviously with hindsight, we had a great tournament. Luke Shaw had a fantastic tournament. It's fair enough. But going into that tournament, there was every argument. I'm pretty sure I think I stated the case for Ben Chilwell starting because I thought he was the better attacking threat. Less of a fat knacker as well.
Hey, that fat knacker scored.
That fat knacker's a national hero. But no, I thought there was a genuine debate to be had as to which one of those two played, and then Kieran Trippier played a game, and you were like, "Oh, well, fair enough." All right then. But no, it's great to see. You look at that Chelsea team at the moment, where you're getting Ruben Loftus-Cheek's getting some game time. Mason Mount's having a fantastic run. You got those 2 at full back. It's quite nice to have, a Champions League team that's playing a number of English players.
Yeah, and I mean, it even got to this week, and the Tuchel just thought, you know what, that lad that scored an hat-trick last week, let's just not play him at all.
That's only Newcastle, isn't it?
Let's just rest everyone. Ziyech, you know what, you've not played much this season. Go on, have a go.
Should we play Timo Werner? Oh, calm down. They're not that easy.
I know Timo's injured, but come on. Poor bastard. So moving on to the final 3:00 kickoff. Southampton 1, Watford 0. I don't think there's a lot to really speak about this, other than Shea Adams getting a goal on his return for the Saints. And
it was a nice finish.
It was a nice finish, and to be honest, I felt quite it felt quite harsh to see that striker that they've got on loan from Chelsea being dropped, because he's been in some fantastic form. He scored against Leeds, and then he scored, I think, in the last game as well. And I don't know if I don't know if there's an injury or something, but he wasn't even named on the bench. So I'm kind of leaning towards there must be some sort of problem.
He's shit. He never scored against Leeds. No one saw that game. No, it was one of the things. Obviously, when we played them a couple of weeks ago, you had the news that Che Adams was injured, and then they were dropping Adam Armstrong for the game, and you're like, are they fucking mental? And clearly it was us who was mental. Not prepared for that at all. Southampton, it's one of those weird things. Southampton, I obviously I tipped them to get relegated this year. And I don't know what it was. There seemed to be this talk that, look at Southampton, they've made some good signings, they're playing some nice football. But they weren't winning games. Obviously, they beat us, because that's what teams do that when they don't win games. They beat Leeds. But yeah, like they obviously still need to get a few results together to ensure they're not getting dragged into that relegation battle. But they're playing better than I thought they were, or I thought they would be anyway.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was the Watford side looked completely different to the side that turned up against Everton last week. Joshua King obviously scored a hat-trick last week, and then this week they just looked lost going forward.
Well, I don't think any of us saw that coming on 78 minutes with Watford 2-1 down away to win 5-2.
Well, that's what you get for signing someone on a 6-month contract and then not fucking playing him. Bastards. Yeah. Absolute bastards. So then on to the final game for the Saturday, and a game between two managers. Someone online christened it El Sacco. And
creative, that one.
Well, you know, he could have wrote for The Simpsons.
Was it you?
Shut up. Yeah, between two managers that obviously were under pressure going into this game, and Sir Alex Ferguson had given Solskjaer his backing, saying that he gets another chance against Spurs. This is the result that he needed. And to be honest, it's the result that every other Premier League team wanted us to get.
So yeah, I can't say I wanted you to win, but
you didn't want Solskjaer fucking sacked, though.
Yeah, I could have done with a draw, really. Yeah, you guys kind of switched things around, so you had a much more defined sort of front two with Cavani and Ronaldo. The old men of football propping up your team now.
Yeah.
But again, it's the thing with that Man United team, that on any given day, it's a good team because you've just got that combination of players and Fred that...
You leave Fred alone. Fred had a fantastic game against Spurs, and I won't have anything said bad about him. It's the only team he seems to be able to play against.
Can I just say a completely, as a slightly related note, I saw someone's Halloween costume, which was just a mask of Paul Scholes' face and a toy foot.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, fantastic.
It's not gone well for Man United legends, has it, after their playing careers have finished?
Honestly, I said this the other day, like, I miss the days when I knew nothing about the rest of the class of 92. Obviously, Beckham was always the high-profile one, and that's fine. He's got his 15 million payout with that cash that's dripping in blood. The blood of all the dead workers who built those stadiums. Ryan Giggs is a woman beater, and Paul Scholes sucks his daughter's toes. Sorry, no, bites her nails, I should say, because apparently that is what true love is. And I just said, like, Phil Neville. So that he's always got that going against him, is just being Phil Neville. I've still not forgiven him for Euro 2000. You've got Gary Neville, who has become the acceptable face of the class of 92 at this point by being a really good pundit and what turns out to be quite an all right bloke. And the one that's left now is Nicky Butt. And I know nothing about Nicky Butt, and I want it to stay that way.
Hey, you won't ever find anything out about Nicky Butt. He's too busy with Salford.
I hope so. It was so much easier when you never knew a thing about Paul Scholes.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the game.
I thought Man United played quite well.
Yeah, we had a decent spell. Switching to having 3 at the back seemed to work quite well, and obviously having Varane back is always going to be a big boost for any defence. But switching to having wing backs, the 2 in midfield of Fred and McTominay, then Bruno and then Cavani and Ronaldo anchoring your attacking side really does look on paper as a frightening side.
Yeah, you look like a lot more of a cohesive unit than you have done before. In the last few weeks. Sorry, that's how scary the prospect is of your combined 80-year-old strike force coming in.
Hey, we only scored.
It's like WCW in the mid-90s, where the old men play.
Hey, we only scored. Was it 5 against you this time?
I said that was pre-season friendly. It doesn't really count for anything, does it? Apart from Luke Ayling's goal, that was an absolute screamer. But apart from that, nothing else in that game mattered. But no, like it's that thing of, obviously Ronaldo is still extremely talented. Cavani's a fantastic striker. You know, you've got Rashford now coming back, and he got the other goal. He scored. He's looking good. He's 24. I still don't entirely know what his best position is, but it's never going to be striker now, is it?
And we've got that. We did have the young prospect of Jesse Lingard coming off the bench as well, which was nice to see. Ollie giving a run out for the young players. Van der Beek didn't get on there though, did he?
No, of course he fucking didn't. I bet he can't wait for his move to Newcastle.
He'll love anchoring the midfield with John Joe Shelby. What are you on about?
He's going to go to Newcastle. He'll hate it. He'll go back to Ajax and he'll be the best player in the world.
Davy Klaassen all over again.
I was going to say Sebastian Haller, but
it works. Ronaldo with the first goal, a lovely little lofted pass by Bruno, just dropped over the top of Ben Davies' head, and then a quick volleyed finish into the bottom corner for a nice finish. And then he linked up with Bruno again for the second goal, played a lovely ball through for Cavani, who finished it quite well with a little chip over the top of Lloris. And to be honest, once Ronaldo had scored in that first half, you just kind of thought, how many can United get? Because Spurs were offering nothing going forward.
No, it was the one thing with them hiring Nuno. I like Nuno. I think he's an excellent coach. I think he's a very nice guy as well. But with that squad, why would you hire him? The one thing, bearing in mind, Mourinho was never the most attack-minded of coaches anyway. And he thought, well, we'll be fine building a defence around Eric Dyer. And that didn't work. And now they've got a defence that's just as weak and is getting, and a strike force that's getting even less service than before. So there was part of me when Lucas Moura got took off and the chance of you don't know what you're doing started ringing around. I was a bit like, well, one, it's an odd change to make, but like, what did you expect bringing Nuno in? Like, I don't know who else you go for, because clearly no one wanted it. I was a step away from sending in my Football Manager CV. I don't know if I'd have probably got an interview.
Look what I can do. Got your Europa League. Huh?
I'd kill for that.
Yeah, and to be honest, the finishing nail in the coffin of bringing Rashford on for Ronaldo for that final 15 minutes, that he were on for, and grabbing himself a goal. Rashford looked obviously very fit for a Premier League footballer that's only going to play 15 minutes. It was just a shame that we saw Cavani leave the field early, because he's just come back from injury, and you can see how big of a presence he is on that pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at how you guys looked for the Leicester and and Liverpool games and not tap back on those. But your front four, front five at times look like complete strangers in those two games. And you just look like an attacking unit yesterday. I've got to give them that credit.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. Got the Manchester derby next weekend, which everyone that's a City fan looks forward to. But on to Sunday's games, and we'll probably run through these quite quickly.
Yes, please.
Starting with the two big championship giants of Norwich versus Leeds. You started your day in the relegation places due to Burnley winning the day before, and
look where we are now.
And you needed the win.
17.
But if that first half, Norwich looked like they were all over you.
I'll give that they had some chances. They had any more chances than us because we did naff all. But they were awful. Like, it was a terrible game of football. There was absolutely nothing to... At least against Southampton, Southampton looked like they might score a goal every now and again. I don't think Norwich really did that. They had the two chances at the back end of the first half that was, I think, one deflected wide, and then there was a volley from the edge of the area that went wide. But there really wasn't a lot to it. But Christ, I could not tell you what formation Leeds were playing or who was meant to play where. It's the best I can say is we've now got used to playing with square pegs in round holes to the point where we had a Spanish international striker playing at centre mid. Dan James was sometimes the striker, sometimes it was Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison was also the left wing back. I don't know what on earth Stuart Dallas's job was. He just seemed to appear at random in various parts of the pitch. Calvin Phillips, if he tried to play a pass that hit the side of my house, would have missed it.
And then you had Rafinha.
And then, honestly, the tactic was give it to Rafinha, and God, I hope he does something.
Can you do that thing, where you cut in and you score?
That thing that Burnley don't like, yeah.
Sean Dyche, you can't fucking do that. Yeah. That first half, to be honest, it were a poor game between both of you. But to be honest, I thought Norwich had the upper hand for that 45 minutes. You did have the one chance of Dan James going around the keeper, and it was cleared off the line by Hanley. But I thought Norwich looked like the best game that Norwich have played so far this season, and that's coming from a team that've only got one draw.
It's unfair considering that last week they couldn't be asked closing down any of Chelsea's players, but no, Leeds are here. Oh, let's put them under some pressure. Bastards.
Then we went into the second half, and Rafinha obviously opens up the scoring with a lovely finish, to be honest. He had the composure to be able to take it inside and dropped one of the Norwich players on his arse before finishing into the other corner.
Lo and behold, some football was actually played in this game, and about 3 passes were strung together by either team. And God, it led to a goal.
and it only happened in a 5-minute period because
Madness.
Then 2 minutes later,
here we go.
Norwich scored from a...
Who scored the goal?
Norwich scored from a corner, the teenage centre-back. Amabi Dele scores from a corner.
There you go. Yeah, good enough. I thought you were going to do a lot worse with that.
And then 2 minutes later after that, Rodrigo decides to just have a pop from about 25 yards out, and Tim Krul thought, no, I'm not going to save this.
And the only thing Rodrigo did all day.
It was almost like he remembered he was a striker.
Yeah, he got some room, hit it, and Tim Krul, like a computer glitch, just seemed to miss it.
Scary that he's your striking top scorer at the moment, seeing as Bamford's out.
Yeah, Christ. Yeah, it's the fact that we decided to not play him as a striker.
I can't wait for the next time. Like, if you're on TV next week and Sky pull up the stat. Rodrigo with 2 in his last 2 games.
I'm just going to shake my head. Honestly.
The danger man.
It was a dire game. It was a dire game, and then Tyler Roberts came on.
And it got worse.
I wouldn't mind. Bless them, the Norwich fans. That one of my favourite things was they got a free kick about the halfway line with about 20 seconds left on the clock. And they've already scored against us from a set piece. So you're just thinking, Tim Krul, hike it into the box, try and get a header. And they played it short. And you could just hear every Norwich fan go, oh, for fuck's sake. Absolutely glorious.
But yeah, onto the final game, because I'm sure that you'll love to go more in depth on that with Jack, and we have been going for a very long time, and I didn't realise.
Yeah.
Final game for
an entertaining game of football followed this one.
Yeah, final game of the day. Not the final game of the week though, because tomorrow is the Wolves versus Everton match. West Ham 4, Villa 1. I almost said Villa 0 then. Ben Johnson gets the goal that opens it up very early on. Then Ollie Watkins equalises. Declan Rice puts West Ham back in front 2-1 going into half-time. Then Ezri Konsa gets himself sent off, which just sends Villa downhill because then Pablo Fornal scores and Jared Bowen scores in a 4-minute period right at the end of the game to kill it off. David Moyes has got this West Ham side playing some fantastic football.
Yeah, I've obviously seen the highlights. I say obviously as if I watch all the highlights before this, but I think I can honestly say the last time we did this, I missed about 3 games, and that's when I was eating Doritos. But I think I started watching about 20, 25 minutes into or maybe just a bit after, into the first half. And obviously it was all Villa. I thought, Villa were on top for the most part and created some half decent chances, but obviously you've got a very well drilled West Ham team. It's obviously got, getting to the break, but you think Villa are still very much in this, and then it just all came crashing down very quickly for them with that red card. And I thought fair play to Villa, because obviously you go down to 10 men, and if you're in a position where you're already behind, you might as well go for it anyway. And I thought they gave it a decent go, but it's a West Ham team that was able to soak up the pressure fairly comfortably, and then were able to just break and got the 2 goals at the end. Fornals really unselfishly could have got the 4th himself as well, but nice squared it across for Jared Bowen to tap in. But yeah, West Ham are looking great at the moment.
Yeah, it's sitting 4th, joint on points with City, only 2 points behind Liverpool, 5 behind Chelsea, who are clear at the top of the table. And they're 3 points clear above Man United and Arsenal, who are the 2 nearest to them. It's a very, very obvious David Moyes tactic of he's just got them playing football, and it seems to be that he's got a group of players that enjoy playing together, very much like we've seen with England over the past couple of years since the World Cup. We've seen a group of players that actually seem to enjoy playing together and want to not get like their own player stats up. They want to get the full team together, and they want to challenge for things. And to be honest, if with the way they knocked City out of the Carabao Cup this week, I'd tip them to be one of the favourites to win that competition.
Yeah, I mean, what was that? It's like City's first defeat in the competition in about 5 years. Mad.
Yeah, they've won it 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they've still not been knocked out in full time.
Yeah.
They only lost on penalties.
Yeah, technical draw. But yeah, the one worry you'd have as a West Ham fan, I imagine, is still if Antonio was out for 3 months, how would we cope? And it'd be interesting to see if that had any effect and whether they'll look to try and bring in another striker either in January or next season to try and bolster their options. But that aside, it's a nice team. It's playing some decent football. It's back to kind of what David Moyes was all about at Everton before Man United destroyed his life for a few years.
And Wilfried Zaha shagged his daughter.
Allegedly. Wait, is it allegedly? Should we say allegedly just in case?
Just in case, allegedly.
Yeah, there we go.
That's that covered.
Yeah, dust hands thoroughly. But yeah, it must be nice as a West Ham fan at the moment. I think it's the best start they've ever had to a Premier League season as this year. So, if you weren't sat 10 miles away from the pitch at the edge, in your seat, it'd be even better. But you can't have it all.
And it's weird for a side that everyone last season decided, Mark Noble's having to go at the board for selling all their young players. Fuck it. Relegation favourites.
Yeah, what idiot would have predicted them to go down last season?
Fucking everyone. But yeah, quickly before we do end off, I want to get your predictions for the Wolves-Everton game. Both sides have kind of struggled recently. They got a point against Dew last week. Everton obviously got battered by Watford 5-2. Where do you think that game will go?
I figure out if I care. You know what? After the amount of time wasting and diving and play acting from Wolves last week, I hope Everton smash them. No, I honestly, considering how we've been playing this season, I wasn't impressed by Wolves. So if Everton get the game going, I'd back them. Yeah,
I could see Everton coming away with a result, especially I believe they're at home for that game as well. So if they're at home, they should definitely come away with a win. If not, I still think I'd back Everton to get some points at Molineux.
What if it's at a neutral location?
Then draw.
Ooh. Fair enough. Can't wait for this one to be played at Bramall Lane.
It's the only Premier League football they'll see for a while.
Yeah.
Well, they lost to Blackpool this week, and Blackpool, those relegation favourites for the Championship, who are currently 6th.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Standard.
Battling it with Coventry.
Yeah, and Peterborough were at the start of the season, but they've dropped off a cliff.
Yeah, they have. They really, really have.
So I'm going to play a quick video here just to show you all the live podcasts here on The Buzz, what days you can watch them, what times you can watch them. And if you're interested, make sure you go check out old episodes on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But here's a quick rundown.
You West the competition, bring on the competition. We need some competition, y'all ain't no competition. It's time to ball, yeah, shout it, time to brawl. Cause see, we bout to stomp y'all from the jump ball. Me worried not at all, your team is gonna fall. Hope you learn something from it, cause we schooling all of y'all. Putting you to shame, don't hate you even came. Bringing the pain to anybody coming through the lane. Simple and plain, we gon' play it like we playing dames. Ain't got a chance, even if we give away the game. So hope you brought your best, go put your skills to the test. An early off season, about to lay your team to rest. Chalk is another loss, that's what it's gonna cost. Go with your instincts if you're having second thoughts. Your buck, this is where it stops, player. From the point to the center, whole team got hops, player. We be the kings of this division, here to knock you out the box, player. Just wait until I get the rock, player. We tired of playing losers, y'all think y'all some winners? No matter who we up against.
As you can see, all the fantastic live videos, podcasts on The Buzz. You can check them out at WTBdotcom. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube under The Buzz. And if you want to hear more from Casey and Jack, who's normally on the podcast, make sure you check out at Mighty White's Pod. That's on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook as well. That's where they live stream their Leeds United-based podcast. And then you can get an audio version afterwards everywhere other than Acast. Because fuck Acast.
Yeah.
You're so hyped for the hate of Acast.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why, but embrace the hate.
All right, Kane. But yeah, that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. Make sure that you check us out next week, where we'll be talking about the Manchester derby and tons more from the Premier League, and maybe a manager sacking. Who knows? Nuno might.
Who knows?
This Halloween, the scariest thing for him is a phone call.
He can go to Dubai and hang out with Steve Bruce.
Yeah, and watch the 2020 World Cup.
Yeah. Got moved from Qatar to Dubai.
And got pushed back 2 years, but he's played in 2021.
That's slightly earlier than we thought it would be as well. Because, obviously we were expecting a Christmas World Cup, so that's,
Yeah.
There's that. Back end of October, early November, no better time for a World Cup.
To be honest, I'm waiting for Steve Bruce to walk out as the Qatar manager.
He wishes.
But that'll do us. Make sure that you check out Stand Your Ground next week. Make sure you check out Casey and Jack at Mighty White's Pod. And we will see you next time